Hello, Disney fans! We're continuing to review Once Upon a Time, and we are up to Season 3, Episode 9, which is titled Save Henry. Yeah, they want to keep us in suspense about what happens in this episode, don't they? Honestly, I found this episode to be boring overall. It's great for character development, which is always a good thing. But as far as moving the plot, I don't know. I didn't find it all that interesting. Of course, they were going to save Henry at some point. He's the focal point of the series. Everything that happened, he brought Emma to town. He's the one that's been kidnapped. Things are revolving around him. Pretty much all the characters are connected through him. So obviously, from a writing standpoint, you can tell he's going to be saved as a character. That doesn't mean there isn't drama over how he's going to be saved and at what point, but really, like I said, overall, in this episode, nothing really happens on Neverland. We get, we see the other characters save him, but honestly, most of this episode, the most interesting part is the flashbacks. We see Regina just after the curse was cast. It's about to hit, and she feels like gloating to Rumpel, "Look, I did it, I cast the curse." Only Rumpel warns her, "You're gonna pay a higher price for this than you realize."
Now there's a hole in your heart, and someday you will come to me to fill it.
Something that we don't see a lot of in this series that really it would have been to the writer's benefit to include more of it, although I can see how they don't want the other characters to know everything that's going to happen, but Rumpel can see the future. So obviously this is going to come to pass, and it does. Regina realizes that she wants a child, and this leads to one of the funniest exchanges in the series.
I need a child, Gold, and I need your help.
Well, I'm flattered, but uninterested.
Not like that.
Yeah, Lon always gets a laugh. And not to give away too much of what's going to happen in future seasons, but there is a idea played with in a future season that there was chemistry between Rumpel and Regina at one point. No. No, there wasn't. The relationship was never romantic in nature. And it just would not work to try to force that. And you can see that in this scene. They're not into each other. No. Okay. Well, of course, Regina doesn't want Rumpel to get her pregnant. Her idea is, go find me a child to adopt. If you've ever gone through trying to adopt or know someone who has, you know that process takes a lot. And she knows that he can cut through all the red tape. Now, keep in mind, Rumpel does not actually have his memories in place of being Rumpel at this point. He has no idea at this point in the timeline that he was ever anyone except Mr. Gold. But he's still good at what he does. And he finds a baby for her in Boston, who of course will be Henry.
Well, hello there. It was fate, wasn't it? Henry.
Henry, huh? You don't meet a lot of Henrys nowadays. Very old world.
What's my father's name?
In present day, Henry is laying near critical point in Neverland because Pan took his heart. Emma actually tells Regina, to calm down, basically. Not in those words, but that's the basic idea. Kind of a "I know how you feel" kind of thing. I'm his mother too. And she says it very calmly. Like, your son's laying there with his life on the line. That's not how I would expect a mother to react. Regina is inconsolable, and she basically says, You guys all have someone. Henry is all that I have.
You have no idea what I feel. You have your parents. You have this person, a pirate who pines for you. You have everything, and yet you claim to know what I feel. All I have is Henry, and I'm not about to lose him because he is everything.
To me, it never really felt like Henry and Emma had that much of a mother son relationship. It almost seems like she's more of a big sister figure to him than a mother. And it's clearly Regina who's a lot more worried about Henry than Emma is at this point. Well, we get another flashback to the early days of when Regina was starting to raise Henry, and they were not easy days. Henry cried constantly. And yeah, with a baby, you're gonna get a crying baby. But this is non-stop to the point that Regina thinks there's gotta be something medically wrong. And she's worried, freaking out, what's the matter with my kid? And Dr. Whale tells her, he's a crying baby. It's nothing really to be that upset over. Physically, everything's fine as far as we can tell. And Regina's like, well, what do you mean as far as we can tell? It's like, well, there's an odd, very rare chance that maybe something could genetically be causing this. It's such a small percent he doesn't even think it's worth investigating, but Regina wants to leave no stone unturned as to why is her son crying. Well, she has to cut through some red tape again to get through the records because Henry's adoption was a closed adoption. When Emma gave him up, she wanted no further contact, no way to be reached. It says a lot about Henry's cleverness that he found her anyway. But in any case, it's hard to get that information when it's hard to get that information about Henry's past, and when Regina does get that information, it's at a bad time, just when Henry finally decides to stop crying.
Henry, I promise if you just tell me what you want, I'll do anything for you. Anything. Please, just give me a chance. Thank you.
And that's when Sydney Glass, who is her magic mirror, or rather her genie that she trapped in the magic mirror, gets her the information she needs. She gets the facts saying that Henry's birth mother has a very interesting history.
You knew. Knew what exactly? The child that you located for me in Phoenix, his mother was found in the woods outside of Storybrooke 18 years ago.
What a startling coincidence.
18 years ago?
I fear I'm missing the significance. You'll have to forgive me. My memory's not what it used to be.
Like I said, at this point, Rumpel honestly doesn't remember his past as Rumpelstiltskin. He got his memories back when he heard Emma's name for the first time, which was why he wanted the Charmings to tell him Emma's names when they came to him in episode 1. Regina figures there's no way this is coincidence that the baby's mother was found outside of Storybrooke 18 years ago, which would be when the curse was cast. A baby that came through and just ended up on the side of the road. She knows that's gotta be the savior she was so worried about. She decides, okay, I can't keep Henry knowing who his mother is. And she almost lets him go. But then at the last minute, she realizes she can't.
Would you like me to hold him so we can get the last little signature?
No, that won't be necessary. Henry's my son. The best thing for Henry is to stay with a mother who will never let go of him. Ever again.
Of course, we've all known right since the first episode that Regina raised Henry, so there isn't really any surprise in this episode. Although I do love flashbacks that show characters and how things got that way, so seeing the flashback was nice. But there wasn't really any big reveal like there is in some episodes when they show the flashbacks. Still interesting to see though. And it's a good thing for Henry that Regina did keep him, because had she given him back, we do find out that Wendy's brothers John and Michael would have taken him. They would have supposedly adopted him, but of course they would have handed him over to Pan to save Wendy. And that's something I talked about in earlier reviews. Sorry for not recapping more, but honestly, if I spent my time recapping, I'd be spending the whole episode doing that instead of talking about the new stuff, because that's just the way the series is put together. And so apologies for that if you're just joining partway in, but if you want to know more about the series, probably a good idea to actually watch the series before the reviews, or watch reviews from the beginning, because it's really hard to know what's going on if you join this series partway in. I found that out myself the hard way, because I started watching this when they were already on season 4. So I was really mixed up when I first watched this show. Well, getting back to Neverland. Not a lot's been going on there. They've been trying to find Pan's camp so they can get Henry's heart back. Emma does do one useful thing by telling the Lost Boys that we will take you with us, we will find you families, just tell us where Pan's tree is, where Pan's hideout is. And one of the Lost Boys says, well, he's got this one tree. So they find that tree and they end up trapped right to it. It's the tree of regret, and it's their past regrets that bind them there. Only Regina doesn't regret what she's done.
I did pass a curse that devastated an entire population. I have tortured and murdered. I've done some terrible things. I should be overflowing with regret, but I'm not. Because it got me my son.
So Regina gets Henry's heart back, only I'm really wishing she hadn't just stopped there, that she would have actually taken Pan out then and there. Doesn't really happen that way. It would have saved them a lot of grief later, but in any case, they do save Henry, hence the title, and they do also, of course, let Rumpel out of Pandora's box, where he's been trapped since last episode. And this leads to a warm moment between him and his son, Bay. And I love these warm family moments. I couldn't get enough of these.
Why didn't you tell me Pan was your father? Because I didn't want you to know that I was as bad a father as he was. Because we're both the same, me and him. Because we both abandoned our sons.
No. You're not the same. You came back for me, Papa.
I'm going to find myself saying this a lot as the series continues, but if only the episode and the series had ended right there, everything would have been great. But remember how I said Regina didn't finish Pan when she should have? Yeah, he is on the Jolly Roger as they're about ready to go home, and he tries to take Henry's heart yet again. Regina has protected Henry's heart, but that doesn't keep Pan.
Blood magic works both ways.
Had Rumpel not turned up when he did, Henry would probably have been dead. Now, Pan doesn't get the chance to kill Henry, but he does have one more trick up his sleeve. Now, I love that we can tell right away. It's obvious that, that little flash in the eyes, you can tell their souls got switched. And it's Henry who ends up trapped in Pandora's box. Now, I have to give credit to Jared Gilmore, who plays Henry. He does a fantastic job, I think, at switching from playing Henry to playing Pan. And he nails the character right away, and you can tell when he interacts with Felix, one of the Lost Boys, that this is not Henry. And I give him major kudos for being able to play two different characters that way.
Oh no, I'm perfectly safe. During our struggle, my fate was sealed. The one who's in trouble is Henry.
But you're Henry.
Not anymore.
I'm guessing at this point the writers just said, we've worked in every other Disney movie we can. Let's work in Freaky Friday because why not? Although it makes it interesting because there's suspense there of wondering when are the other characters going to realize this isn't Henry. How much damage is Pan going to do before they do find out it's really him? So there's that element of suspense there, but I wish that they'd have gone into a little more detail about how exactly Pan's magic works. He only has magic from Neverland. We know that much. Malcolm, before he became Pan, was an ordinary guy. So I don't know exactly how he magically pulled off this switch. It just seems too random without knowing more of Pan's abilities. And they're leaving Neverland at this point, and we've seen that without Henry's heart, he was going to die soon. He no longer has Henry's heart. So for me, I just wish that they would have explained this a little better, but I do tend to overthink things. Well, this is episode 52 out of 155 episodes of Once Upon a Time. So, why did I start reviewing once again? Especially knowing what's coming up in future seasons, but I've come this far and I will finish reviewing Once. Although I am still going to switch off between reviewing Once episodes and movies and occasionally a song analysis thrown in there. Because, let's face it, the best part of Disney is the music. So, my next review is going to be of Hunchback of Notre Dame. I hope you'll enjoy that one. I hope you've enjoyed this review, even though, like I said, to me, this isn't as interesting as some other episodes. But I will see you in my next review, and until then, remember the magic.